The Mazda LS swap truck is done. Long time coming. This actually started out about 2 years ago. It had a Ford Ranger 3-liter V6, which I don't know why anybody would ever want to put that in the truck. It's not actually what she wanted. She also wanted it to be fire engine red, and it was maroon, like a dark maroon. This truck has been coming to us for many years, even before the 2 years ago of when we started the project. And we were just trying to fix what this other shop did when they did all the maroon and shitty V6. She finally gave up on trying to keep that V6 running and decided, yes, let's LS swap this and make it everything she wanted, which was a V8 truck, fire engine red, and nice and updated. So when we got it, we did the paint job. We have a video on the paint job and how it started out with the maroon and everything like that. And you can see a little bit of the V6. We didn't really record the V6 coming out of it, but we pretty much threw it away, so that's fine. We hated that engine anyways, and so did the owner. After that was getting the V8 in, which fitting an LS into this truck is not super easy. The engine bay is very short comparatively. The tranny tunnel is also for a small transmission, and we put an automatic in this one. The rear axle. So the people who did that swap couldn't figure out how to have a drive shaft made, I'm thinking. So they put in a 5-lug rear axle and left the 6-lug front. So she had 2 different wheels. She couldn't rotate it. It's 5-lug, 6-lug. And so we ended up finding a 6-lug rear diff for this thing to swap out. I'm gonna show you all the extra stuff that we had to do on the interior. The seats were reupholstered. Everything else is pretty close to the OE, or how it came to us, how she's had it for a while. The dash mat was something that she wanted. We got that put in there for her, and of course her Bullwinkle bobblehead. It's actually Velcroed on, so it's not gonna fall, don't worry about that. The gauges took me a while to actually finish. We had a few iterations of gauges and other ideas and stuff like that. We kind of settled on this one. And then when we were talking about it, she wanted some sort of kill switch. And so instead of having just a weird switch hidden somewhere or any of that stuff, we decided to update it a little bit. And so now it actually has a little RFID chip. So technically this is a keyed, or what's it called? The little chipped keys, Yeah, it's got a thing. So when we put it in, it starts beeping. And that tells us that the key is ready, or the car is charged. And so now we have a start button. And when you push the brake pedal, the button will illuminate. So brake pedal down. And now everything is working. So it does have a few safety features, but as I was saying before, if we just take the key out and it's no longer here, you can't start the truck. Initially, it might start trying to crank, but it will not actually start until you have this key within range of the sensor. AC does work in this. Power steering does work in this. It's all great. I'm gonna show you the engine bay now, because we spent a lot of time in there, and a lot of it was custom things, because there is no swap kit for this. Getting the engine in here was the biggest problem, and essentially we had to make our own mounts, but we had to cut off the horribly welded mounts that were holding in the Ford Ranger 3-liter V6. So we had to cut those off with a plasma cutter, and then we designed our own mounts. And we have videos on us going over the design and getting all those mounts set and everything like that, because they're tucked in there pretty good. Next was being able to get the engine in and out. And that is where this came in. So we cut the core support so that the engine and transmission can be taken out the front, and we have enough room to lift it and get it out. The other thing too was this ended up being beneficial because the water pump is large. The front of the engine is sticking out pretty far from the firewall, which we do have it butted up pretty much as close as we can get to the firewall without it touching. So with the water pump being that way, we couldn't have the radiator in the stock location. So I had to take the radiator off, or out. I had to take off the radiator mounts, which are soldered on there, and I had to actually cut and weld the radiator to suck the radiator up closer to the core support, and in doing so, put the radiator cap under the core support. So now you have a few things to take off to get to the radiator cap, but we can do it, and that's all that matters. AC lines we got made. This is a Holley high mount kit for the accessories. AC compressors over here, alternator and power steering are on the other side. The radiator hoses I actually made out of aluminum, and then we have the bends here, just because it was much easier than trying to find a hose, and I wasn't going to put a bendy, universal hose in here. That's just not what we do. The intake the intake tube I made. Yes, to everyone, this is a hot air intake. I don't really care about getting this thing to be in the best position, the coldest air, the most horsepower. This thing has way more power than she will ever need. And if you guys want to see, we do have a video of us first starting the engine, and we get to show it to her for the first time. But you ready?
You're ready, 3, 2, 1. Blast off, we're gonna get ready now.
Yup.
Woohoo! It'll be a year July. This is a big deal. I'm gonna back up till it explodes. See? Sparks.
It will be a lot quieter.
I was gonna say, good job by you.
And this little lady, she is amazing because one, she's really cool and down to earth. She understands how everything goes. And she carries around a 1911. What's not to like? Don't mess with her. She has an LS swap truck and a gun habit. What else does America need? There was a lot of other stuff, running the painless harness. That was a lot of stuff that we had to do. I actually got a painless harness that is a chassis harness. It's essentially meant for if you just took a piece of cardboard and then put an LS in it and put headlights and stuff around it, you would have a running vehicle. That's what this harness is. It has everything in it, from headlights to tail lights, interior stuff, AC stuff. It's perfect. And I do say perfect because it was the easiest thing that we had to do to this truck, was just wire everything in. There was a few things that we had to make. I don't know if we actually did too many videos on it, but the little brackets for like the battery, the fuse box, the ECU mounting and stuff like that. And then, yeah, we finished it off with these wheels, which we found in a junkyard. Don't get me wrong. You can find some really good deals in junkyards. And we painted them a root beer brown. So in the right sunlight, they shine and sparkle. Other than that, they're pretty much black. They're really dark, which we don't want the wheels to take away from the truck. That also brings me to this. So this is no longer a Mazda B2200. This is a Mazda J5300, and that's because the lady who owns its name is Judy, and this is her 5300 dream truck. I will say one thing that finished this thing off was we got the Mazda sticker on the back, and this is actually in a saddle brown, so it matches the wheels. It looks really dark. Most people might say it's black, but it's actually a brown in the right light, which is exactly how the wheels are, and that's what we wanted. There was a bunch of little stuff that happened with this thing. Even I had to make a lock for the tailgate. So it'll lock just like any newer truck, but if you know these, they were anything but a lock. And when I say I had to make it, I had to make everything with it. So that was something that took a little bit of time. We had to change out the door locks because over the years they stopped working. There was a jumper seat in the back that we had to do. This truck has everything. Speaking of the jumper seat, I'm gonna show you something. All right, so this is the jumper seat, and ever since she's owned the truck, this side has just been floating, right? And so I ended up finding the brackets because she didn't have them. I don't know where they went. I don't know who lost them, but someone did. And so the brackets here were missing. We found them, so now her seat functions and operates the way that it should, which is just this, right? But because this lady is all about the battle cry Murica, she had us do this too. So this is a gun mount for her 1911, and then it has a magazine mount as well. So we have these little magnets here. They're actually 55-pound magnets. They will hold the gun very well. The barrel, because obviously when you store the gun, it is not loaded. The barrel slides in here and it holds onto there with the magnet, and then you have the magazine. So if you do see her out and about in this thing, she's packing. This is probably right now one of our most favorite projects because we love Judy and we finally made this truck. We've been telling her for years, ever since we first met her, to just put an LS in it because it'd be easier to take care of than a Ranger 3-liter. And I don't care what any of you guys say, that is the worst engine that they ever put in any of those Rangers. The 4-liter Ranger, great. The 4-cylinder Ranger, great. The 3-liter Ranger, you give to your enemies. It's just how it is. So now, this is no longer a given to the enemy car. This is a badass car, truck, whatever you want to call it. All right, Judy, so you're gonna have to take it easy for a little bit, but it's all yours.
Oh, thank you. Finally. It's just been forever. Thank you. It's my forever truck.
This is so true.
Gee, look how much fun I'm going to have. Oh, boy, yeah. Come on, Bullwinkle.